Her brother treated me like I wasn't good enough, deleted my closest friends from our wedding guest list, and publicly mocked me for years. So I sent one email to her father and watched their golden boy finally get exposed. I'm 33, and for a long time, I truly thought I had found my person. Her name was Leia, she was 29, and we'd been together for almost 4 years. When I think back on those years, I still remember how solid it felt. The comfort of having someone who shared my values, understood my humor, supported my goals. We had good chemistry and we rarely fought. Even when we disagreed, it never turned ugly. We talked like adults, calmly, and always found a way to understand each other. I really thought we had what it took to make a life together. But if there was one constant problem, one thing that never truly fit, it was her older brother, Ryan. From the first day I met him, Ryan made it clear that he wasn't impressed by me. He was 35, a former college athlete who now ran a real estate business. He carried himself like he owned every room he walked into. He was loud, always talking about his success, his Tesla, his condo in Scottsdale. He loved to brag. The first time we met, he shook my hand way too hard and said, "So you're the app guy, huh? I run a niche software company. We're not huge, but we're profitable. I'm proud of what I've built." But Ryan always made me feel small, like I was some temporary fluke that Leia was entertaining until she found someone on his level. At family dinners, he would drop these passive-aggressive comments. "Leia always did like projects. Still working that little startup? Man, imagine not owning real estate at 30. Everyone would laugh a little, and I'd just sit there, trying not to let it show that it bothered me. I'd glance at Leia, hoping she'd say something. Sometimes she'd just smile awkwardly, or she'd say, "That's just Ryan. He doesn't mean anything by it." And I let it go. I didn't want to be the one causing drama in her family. I told myself I could take it, that I could rise above it because I loved her. But over time, the jabs didn't stop. They just got louder. One Thanksgiving, Ryan straight up asked me in front of everyone, "You guys really splitting everything 50-50? Even the ring?" I could feel everyone's eyes on me. At a 4th of July barbecue, he shouted loudly across the backyard, "If these two make it down the aisle, I'll be impressed." Every time I tried to talk to Leia about it, she'd say the same thing. "He's protective. He's just intense. That's just how he is." Eventually, I gave up talking about it. Not because I didn't care anymore, but because I realized she was never going to do anything about it. And still, I showed up. I smiled through the insults. I bit my tongue during his comments. I played nice because I loved her, and I told myself, we're building our life, not his. But everything changed during our engagement. First, it was small things. He'd interrupt me when I spoke. He'd make loud jokes about our wedding decisions in front of her family. When I shared my groomsmen list, he laughed and said it looked like a Comic-Con panel. Leia would roll her eyes or tell him to chill, but that was as far as she'd go. And then came the engagement party, the moment I knew something had to change. During his toast, Ryan raised his glass and said, "Here's to Leia, and we'll see if this guy makes it past the honeymoon." People laughed awkwardly. I forced a smile. Leia shook her head and whispered, "Ignore him," but I couldn't anymore. That night, as we cleaned up, I finally said to her, "This can't keep happening." She looked tired and said, "I know, I'll talk to him, but just be the bigger person. Okay?" I nodded. Sure, but something in me shifted in that moment. Something quiet but final. I was done letting it slide. A few days later, life gave me an opportunity, and for once, I didn't let it pass. A couple of weeks passed after the engagement party, and on the surface, things returned to normal. Leia was completely consumed by wedding planning, swatches, seating charts, menu tastings. I went back to my work routine, juggling client deadlines, vendor calls, and trying to keep up with all the things that came with being engaged. But even while I was going through the motions, that one sentence, "Just be the bigger person," played on repeat in my head like a broken record. Not because I disagreed with the idea, but because I had already been the bigger person for 4 years. Every insult, Every passive-aggressive comment, every public embarrassment. I had let it slide. I had swallowed it all just to keep the peace. And now it felt like I was being asked to swallow just one more thing, to pretend that Ryan's behavior was harmless, that it wasn't chipping away at me bit by bit. But I knew better. And when I finally hit that point of no return, it wasn't loud or explosive. It was quiet, calm, and clear. It happened one afternoon while Leia was in the shower. I was looking around for my laptop charger, since mine had gone missing again. I noticed hers was plugged in at the desk, so I walked over to grab it. That's when I saw it. Her laptop was open, and an email thread was pulled up on the screen. It was between Leia and her dad, talking about wedding expenses. I didn't mean to snoop, and I swear I wasn't trying to invade her privacy. The window was just there, right in front of me. But what caught my eye was an attachment, a document from Ryan. The file was titled Revised Guest List. Something in my gut turned cold. I clicked it open. What I saw made my stomach sink. Ryan had gone through the guest list that Leia and I had carefully built together over weeks, a list full of people who meant something to us. And he had removed 6 of my friends. 6 people who had been in my life for years. One of them was my business partner. Another was like a brother to me. In their place were names I didn't even recognize. I Googled one of them, a real estate investor. Another was a finance coach. One by one, I realized these were Ryan's business contacts. Probably people he was trying to impress or win over. And at the bottom of the document was a note that made my blood boil. Just tightening things up a bit. Got to make the guest list look more respectable. Can't have it looking like Comic-Con. He actually wrote that, with no shame.
No filter.
As if my life, my friends, my story meant nothing. I sat there for a long time, staring at that email. I didn't want to blow up or start a fight. I didn't even want to scream. What I felt wasn't rage, it was clarity. This wasn't just about one stupid email or one more joke. This was about a pattern. For years of disrespect, of being treated like I wasn't good enough, of watching Leia laugh it off and ask me to rise above. And now, this man was trying to rewrite our wedding as if it were some kind of PR opportunity. He had crossed a line. And Leia, whether she knew it or not, was letting him. Later that week, I went into her inbox and found the same thread again. I clicked forward, typed in her dad's email address, and added one line, "Thought you should see this." I didn't add commentary. I didn't explain anything. I just forwarded the exact document that Ryan had sent. I hit send, closed the laptop, and walked away. Not with anger, but with peace. Because for the first time in 4 years, I wasn't swallowing it. The fallout came faster than I expected. The very next evening, I was in the kitchen preparing dinner when I heard Leia's voice rise from the living room. She was on the phone with her dad. At first, I couldn't make out the words, but then I heard her say loudly, "What are you talking about?" "Revised list." Then there was silence. A few moments later, she walked into the kitchen holding her phone, looking completely confused. Her face was pale. Her voice was soft. "Did you send my dad something?" I didn't dodge it. I said, "Yeah, the email with the guest list changes." She looked at me like I had just pulled the floor out from under her. "Why would you do that?" she asked, her voice cracking halfway through the sentence. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Because I've been talking to you about Ryan for years, and you never really listened." She didn't say a word. She just looked at me for a long time and then walked away. The next morning, Ryan started blowing up our phones. Texts, voicemails, even a missed call from my office line. He was furious. He accused me of trying to ruin his relationship with the family. He said I was vindictive, manipulative, that I had twisted the situation. But this time it wasn't working. Because Leia's dad, he wasn't buying the excuses anymore. And for the first time since I had met Ryan, someone in his own family was actually holding him accountable. The next 48 hours unraveled faster than I could have predicted. Leia's dad was livid. Not just about the guest list, but about everything. He told Leia flat out, "This isn't the first time Ryan has tried to control things. It's just the first time someone finally called him out." Leia tried to defend her brother at first. He didn't mean anything by it, she said, but her father cut her off.
No.
He's treating this wedding like a business event. And your fiancé's friends? Those are his people. Cutting them out without even saying anything? That's not just rude. It's disrespectful. I think that was the moment Leia finally realized how serious it was. Her father had never spoken that firmly against Ryan before. And for once, she couldn't laugh it off or downplay it. That night, we sat at the dinner table in silence. I didn't push her to choose a side. I just let her sit with it. Finally, she whispered, "I didn't know he sent that." I nodded. "I figured." She took a deep breath. "I get why you're upset. But going around me like that wasn't fair." I just looked at her and said, "For 4 years, I let it go. Every joke, every comment, every time he tried to make me feel small. And every time, I came to you first. You told me to be the bigger person. And I was." She didn't respond. She just looked away, staring at the wall like she was trying to solve a puzzle that had no answer. By the next afternoon, the wedding was officially put on hold. That weekend, Leia packed a small bag without saying much. She didn't slam doors or yell. She just moved slowly through the apartment, folding a few clothes, gathering her toiletries, and slipping her engagement ring into the side pocket of her purse. I sat on the couch, watching her quietly, not sure if I should speak or let her move through her thoughts uninterrupted. Right before she walked out, she turned around and said, "I'm going to stay with my sister for a few days. I don't know what to think right now." Then she left. No hug, no goodbye, just that. I didn't chase her, not because I didn't care, but because I had chased peace for 4 years and had nothing left in me to run with. For the first time, I wasn't going to apologize for protecting myself. The days that followed were strange, quiet, unsettling. Ryan tried every tactic he could think of to control the narrative. He called Leia crying, saying I was poisoning her against him, that I had blown a simple joke out of proportion. He left me a voicemail where he actually tried to explain that the guest list changes were just about optics, that he was only trying to help, but the damage was done. And this time, no one was laughing. Leia's dad refused to speak to Ryan, told him not to contact him again until he took accountability for his actions. He was done making excuses for him. Ryan tried one more time, sent an email that was supposed to be an apology, but it read more like a weak justification. There was no real remorse, just more of that same arrogant, image-driven language he always used. That was the last I heard about him trying to defend himself, because the family had seen the truth, finally. A few days later, I got a text from Leia. Just 6 words. "I'm sorry. You were always right." That was it. No follow-up, no call. Just that one message that hit me harder than I expected. Because I didn't want to be right. I didn't want to win some ugly argument. I wanted a partner who had my back. Someone who saw what was happening and chose me loudly, unapologetically. Not someone who watched me take hits for years and kept asking me to smile through them. I did love her, and a part of me probably always will. But this was never just about Ryan. It was about respect, about boundaries, about knowing when to step in and when silence becomes complicity. Ryan wanted a wedding that reflected status, one that made him look good in front of his business friends. He wanted to scrub out the people who didn't fit his mold of success, people who meant everything to me. Now there's no wedding at all, no vows, no ceremony. And Ryan? He doesn't even have a seat at the table anymore. Leia hasn't reached out again since that text. Maybe one day she will. Maybe we'll talk. Or maybe this is just one of those chapters that ends quietly, with no closure except the one you give yourself. But the most important thing is, I didn't swallow it this time. I didn't let it go. I didn't laugh it off. I said nothing, and that silence spoke louder than anything Ryan ever shouted. If you've ever had to smile through disrespect just to keep the peace, or been told to be the bigger person one too many times, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories, and remember, sometimes the quietest moves cause the loudest consequences.